So episode 7, which I know all of you have probably seen anyway, and 50 Cent was one pissed off dude. I will be talking about it in a bit more detail in my second video, because this is the recap for episode 7, so let's talk all things All in the Family, which is the episode 7's title. And it picked up pretty much straight away with the crazy events from episode 6's finish, with Lamar killing both Slick and Lil Darius, and there was of course going to be some sort of payback from Meech and Terry because of how Lamar went after Nicole. We saw Tiny and the 12th Street Boys going after Lamar to try and finish him off for good. But Lamar, he's not only crazy, he's one tough motherfucker too, and it's going to be hard to bring someone like Lamar down, so they might have to approach this a little differently. We also saw Meech telling B-Mickie to dead this thing with Kato, because rules are rules. But before B-Mickie could tell Kato, he saw Lamar stroll out of his house, and now he knows that Kato has been working for Lamar, but she wants to bring him down and wants B-Mickie's help to do it. Lucille also thinks that she can convince Terry to leave the drug game behind, especially after Darius's death and funeral really being an eye-opener for the family, and Terry definitely is thinking about it, but he knows he can't just leave the game. But the settlement that he's going to get from his botched eye surgery is going to play a huge part in what's next for the two brothers, and the death of Lopez is also huge because killing someone from law enforcement is not something that's going to go down well. But we're going to get into all things episode 7 in this review and recap, but of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related. But this episode kicked off with Big Meech telling us that in the 80s, light skin was in. Most dark skinned dudes thought I was soft, so it made my business to prove them wrong by any means necessary, which is exactly what we saw Meech trying to do in this episode. He tried to go after Lamar, but when you go after someone like him, you can't miss, and they took a shot at the devil and missed. And we are going to get into that in a bit more detail later on in this video. But we saw Terry and Meech running through the hospital looking for their baby sister Nicole after Lamar stabbed and killed Darius. We hear Meech telling us that when you come from nothing, family's all you've got, and he'll be there for Nicole. But Meech definitely needs to take his fair share of the blame, because if he never snatched Zoe, then this may never have happened, and this is the consequences of the game. There is a constant ripple effect that may not affect you, but it could affect others because of your actions. Nicole tells them that it was the same guy from the mall, and it sinks in that it's Lamar as she gets taken away by Detective Bryant and Lopez, and as she does, Meech tells her, you know what to do. Meech is worried about her telling the truth about their business, and that's exactly what Charles wants her to do, because he's had enough. Since episode 1, he's had issues with Meech ever since he's found a gun in their room. It's been downhill for their relationship, and now Terry as well. Charles tells Nicole that she needs to tell the truth, and don't even dare try and defend Meech and Terry. Lucille on the other hand, she wants Nicole to be careful about what she says, because she's scared, and rightly so. She doesn't want the family to be in any more danger than they already are. But it's too late in Charles's mind. He's already packing up their bags and he wants to get out of town because he doesn't want Lucille, Nicole or himself to be next. But Lucille still holds on to the hope of convincing Terry, and we even see later on her going to see Karen, and she convinces her to take them back on as their client. She knows getting this settlement is one way they can save Terry, and now they have a witness, a nurse who disappeared, but she was there and knows that they botched up Terry's eye surgery, so they need to find this nurse. And if and when they do, the settlement won't be for $25,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure in real life they eventually settled on $1 million, which they then used to set up their own sedan business and expand their drug business. But while Nicole's in for questioning, Meech tells Terry that they'll pay for the funeral for Darius, and they also need to deal with Lamar. But Terry definitely has a change of tone, especially considering he was the one who wanted to hit Lamar and swing first. And this came down to the ending of episode 6 where Lucille tried to convince Terry to leave this drug ship behind him, and he knows it's true, he'll end up dead or in jail if he continues. And Meech even agrees with him, but they're in way too deep and they need to deal with this Lamar situation because they're thinking about what's next. What if Lamar comes after Charles, Lucille, Wanda or even Terry Jr.? This is why we see Meech meeting with Tiny and also White Boy Rick, Eminem's first appearance on BMF. He was only 14 when the FBI had him as an informant who uncovered a lot of police corruption, which even stretched to the mayor of Detroit. He was then thrown in prison for life, but I will leave a really good article down below which goes through the timeline of events for White Boy Rick's story, so the link will be in the description down below. But Meech tells Tiny to deal with Lamar and he'll repay the favor on his next re-up. And after this crazy motherfucker is done carving and burning up a picture of the Flannery house, we see the firepower that he has at his disposal, but he only takes barely 3 steps out of his front door before Tiny starts lighting his ass up, and he definitely hits Lamar. But with the 12th Street Boys and Tiny being unable to find him, and with the cops soon to be swarming all over the place, they needed to get out of there. Now Meech wasn't too happy that Tiny missed Lamar, and that's one thing you don't do. They took a shot at the devil and they missed, and some of you will very well know where that quote is from, by the way. It's what Tasha said to Tommy when he aimed at Ghost but shot Angela instead. But once you take a shot at someone like Lamar, you really can't miss, because he will come back, and when he comes back, he's gonna come up locked and loaded and all guns blazing. And Meech knows that this was a missed opportunity, and Lamar may be old, but he's smart. He wouldn't go to no hospital. In fact, we saw him breaking into Monique's bathroom, and he really is crazy and tough. He took a bullet in the shoulder, and when Monique walked in, he goes crazy when she said that she was gonna call the cops, and he didn't just hit her once, he hit her twice. And then we see this mental side come out again from Lamar, until the moment he sees Zoe. He knows he's messed up, and it's the one thing you don't do. You never hit a woman. But Lamar doesn't care, because when he gets into this crazy state of mind, he just acts. He doesn't think. And after all this went down, Monique actually makes the call to Meech, and he knows Lamar was the one responsible for Monique looking like this. And she tells Meech that she knows a place where Lamar could go if he wasn't as slicks, and that's his cousin Ramon's place, which I'll get to in a moment. But while all this was going down, Lamar wasn't Meech's only problem. The police were sweeping up on the streets and picking up anybody that they could see. Detective Bryant's boss was living up to her promise that she made a few episodes ago, where she told Bryant that she was coming down hard on these streets. Now Kato only stays out of handcuffs because she knows when to change up her stripes, but they can't move their product because they have to take their guys off the streets, and with nobody to move their weight, Terry needs to go to Big L to buy some more time, which of course she ain't happy with. And although she likes Terry, she didn't give him any special treatment. He needed to be on time with his money. And while Terry went to go meet Big L, Meech tells B-Mickie that Monique gave him an address where Lamar could be hiding, and B-Mickie is down. Meech and Nicole is like family to him, and he's ready to roll and light Lamar up. But Meech tells him before they do that he needs to dead this shit with Kato. She's special to B-Mickie, so he says, but rules are rules, and we'll be coming to this in just a moment. But they do roll up on Ramon's place, but he's not there. But with Big L not giving them an extension, they had to do something, and they made a choice to get their guys back on the streets. But they needed a reason to get back on the streets. They wanted to take a different approach to what Pat would have taken. Meech wants his crew to be loyal, and if you've seen the documentary or read the story on Meech and Terry's crew, up and down from the drivers to the people on the streets, they were all taken care of, and they were loyal. He was big on loyalty, so he decides to go out on the streets with his crew, where he's caught up in this chase with Detective Lopez. Meech and Kato are two of the ones on the run, and Lopez actually catches the big fish, Meech himself. But who comes to his rescue? Kato. She actually kills Lopez after he suffers a serious bleed to the brain. This puts Detective Bryant under question with his boss, who questions his relationship with Meech, because he did see him handing him over some money back in episode 5. She tells him that if he's dirty, she's gonna wash him out to dry. So Detective Bryant meets up with Meech and tells him that his partner was murdered. He tells him that he's got the power to make him disappear right now if he wanted to, and even though Meech has got shit on Detective Bryant, he said he won't ever be able to use it. And he leaves by telling him, give your mum my condolences, because he's done playing. And Big Meech's narration tells us that he would have taken a bullet for any one of his people, but sometimes the person you take a bullet for ends up being the one holding the gun, and that's because nobody can be trusted in this game. But while all this is happening on Detective Bryant's side, Kato's caught up between Lamar and the 50 boys. After she goes to B-Mickie's, he calms her down, and after he leaves the house to go get some roll-ups, we see Lamar strolling into B-Mickie's place. He tells Kato that he'll spare B-Mickie's life if she kills Meech, and she owes Lamar because Kato's dad and Lamar, they used to run together back in the day, and when she got caught up in a jam, Lamar not only took care of the body, he ate the charge, and now Lamar's collecting. Now Kato tells Lamar what he wants to hear, but finally comes clean to B-Mickie when he sees Lamar coming out of his place. She tells him everything, and now it all makes sense to B-Mickie. The food trucks, the stash house, the letter that he saw at her place. She's been working for Lamar, but she says the 50 boys, they're like family to her, and she wants B-Mickie's help to take down Lamar. Now only time will tell if she really does, but with B-Mickie's help, they might just be able to do it, and it may even come back to B-Mickie's gun that means so much to him. Is this the same gun that he used to kill J-Mo with? Could B-Mickie and Kato plant the gun on Lamar and get rid of him? As we've all probably seen from the episode 8 trailer, which I'll go through in a bit more detail in my second video, Lamar will get a hold of Kato, so this situation is going to get very messy, but I will go through this in a bit more detail in my trailer breakdown for episode 8. But elsewhere in episode 7, we saw the funeral for little Darius, which put things into real perspective for Wanda. She tried to convince Terry to leave the game, giving him an ultimatum. It's either her and Terry Jr. or Meech. And with Big Meech telling us that when family is united, no one can stop you. But don't make that mistake thinking that shit lasts forever. And it's because things can change, especially when Terry makes his decision. But that was episode 7, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comment sections on all things episode 7, especially with B-Mickie finding out Kato's secret. Do you think they could work together and take down Lamar? Or could Kato be double bluffing and playing B-Mickie? Either way, I think B-Mickie needs to come clean to Meech, but drop all your thoughts and comments down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related, especially with Power returning in just 1 week. But anyway guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.